Christy?
How about that, guys? Just punching this one onto the mat. Look how she ate it. Let's get her off real quick. But what we were doing is, if you guys look out over here, so we got these, we call them up here like cheesy mats, but there's a bunch of hydrilla and matted grass that's mixed in with it. And what it does is it creates this canopy, and you punch through that canopy. It's something I've done in Florida quite a bit, and that's what lives under it, dude. They react to that bait going through with that crawfish imitator that actually looks, to them, I think, kind of like a brim or a bluegill under there. They freaking smash it, boy. I want to talk to you about like one of my favorite techniques for catching bass, and it's something I kind of brought up to Guntersville. They do it up here already, but I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and that's flipping mats. A lot of guys these days will call it punching mats. But basically, what it entails is taking a super duper heavy tungsten weight, just like that one right there, like a 1.5, a 1 1/4 ounce, sometimes even up to like a 2 ounce, 2.5 ounce. I've done that before. And basically you're punching through this canopied cover. When I say canopied, basically this cover kind of lays out so it's matted on the top. It can be floating vegetation, it can be hydrilla like you see behind us, and there's an open kind of space under it where those bass tend to live. They especially like it up here. It seems like in the fall when the grass grows high and kind of covers itself. Down in Florida, oftentimes you see it like pre-spawn, kind of those fish are looking for a place to tuck away and move into before they spawn, get comfortable, eat a lot. But it's a super intense, fun way to catch fish. You're using heavy braided line. For instance, on this rod, I got a 7-11 Halo Heavy right here. I got 80-pound braid on here. I like to use kind of a slicker braid too because it's a little bit quieter, but it's kind of a, I don't know, a hand-to-hand combat type fishing. Heavy weight, super heavy hooks. I highly recommend you use a straight shank hook like you'll see right here, and you use what's called a snell knot. What that snell knot does is it actually kicks that hook out. The moment that fish eats the bait and you put tension on it, it will kick that hook out into the fish's mouth. So where do you actually want to punch? Well, you can see behind me, you got this giant flat of matted grass. You know, I'm sure there's a ton of fish all wedged in all of these mats, but really, we don't have the time to flip all that stuff or punch all that stuff. So really what I focus on are isolated targets, little clumps of grass, whether that's hydrilla, milfoil, even like hyacinth, floating mats, where they're clumped together in a little group. Oftentimes that's where I'm going to catch my bigger fish. And also it's standard fishing practices, guys. Look for points, little turns in that grass. If you guys look actually up all the way this grass line, you'll see there's all these little turns and points that stick out. Oftentimes those fish will sit in those points, using it as kind of an ambush stop. And you'll have bait, brim, whatever kind of forage you have in your lake, it'll pass on by and those fish will dart out and grab it, or it'll go into the mat and they'll dart in. So that's what your bait's mimicking. It's punching through that roof, through that canopy, into that bass house. It's going through so fast that they barely see it. They kind of see that flash, and it's all about a reaction, and they'll come up and just smack it. Last thing, guys, since we're talking about bites, we have to talk about hook sets. When you're setting the hook on these fish, this is not worm fishing 101. It is not. You're not going to reel all the way down and slam the jaw of that fish. You do not want to do that. Since we're using a snell knot, the snell knot kicks the hook out. So it's already kind of setting the hook for you once you put tension on the bait. Really the best hook set that I've found with this kind of punching heavy cover fishing is you do want to reel down and get some of that slack out, but it's not reeling down and waiting. Usually when those fish smack these baits, since you're using kind of a compact presentation, they already got it. So you want to reel down and get a quick, solid kind of sweeping hook set. You got braid, you got a big heavy rod, you don't got to smash their face. But that kind of a hook set will either get them pinned under the mat, which is awesome. You go back into that thick, heavy cover and you go get them, or it's going to draw them out through the mat. You'll see them skating, bouncing across the mat, and using that heavy stick and that heavy braid, you can boat flip them right into the boat.